Hi, good morning viewers. Again, I'm back for once more a video on communication, but today our topic is more interesting. It is about how to increase your fluency in your communication. Normally, we have noted that people who are non-native speakers always struggle with their fluency. So what exactly we understand by fluency? Let me tell you, fluency is actually how spontaneously you can express yourself. Now, generally, we have seen that the people who are non-native speakers, they often struggle to express themselves. So sometimes they find shortage of words or they find tongue-tied. Now, why exactly it happens? Normally, this syndrome is basically due to their delay in converting their sentences. So what exactly it happens? Normally, they try to express themselves first in their own language and then gradually they translate into English. And that is where the delay happens. So what is exactly the problem? The problem lies the sentence pattern. So most of the time, the non-native speakers tend to first think in their own language, and the time which they consume in translating that into English is where the delay happens. And that is where we have problems. People take fillers in between their sentences and sometimes they struggle to express freely. And as a result, they find themselves in a situation where they are tongue-tied. Here I'm going to tell you today certain techniques which can get rid of this problem. So let us begin from the basic. The first thing you need to understand that why we need to translate it into English and then we have to express ourselves. Why not we think directly in that language which we want to express? So for example, if you're trying to communicate yourself in English, you need to first think directly in English. Because many times we have seen that the sentences which we translate often in English is not the same what exactly you are trying to mean. So for example, if a non-native speaker say that you should sit for study, that is not exactly the correct meaning which you want to mean. It should mean that do your studies. Whereas when you try to say sit for study, that means also the same in the vernacular. But if you're trying to express in English, it is not exactly the same. Similarly, when we say that take your food, so what exactly it means? It doesn't mean that you have your food. So what is the correct English? You should have said, please have your food, or I'm having my food. Or maybe if you ask somebody, maybe sometimes people often ask, have you taken your food? But let me tell you, it is wrong English. We should say, have you had your food? Had you taken your dinner? But again, if you say, have you taken your dinner? It is wrong. So you should have said, have you had your dinner? Would you like to have your dinner? Would you like to have your breakfast? So when you say take, so let me give you some example. For example, if I say, take a sip of your tea, otherwise it is getting cold. So when I'm adding a verb with the verb take, then it makes reasonable. But in case of some rare examples, for example, medicine, which we do not consume regularly, we can use the word take. So if we use the verb take, we may say, you need to take your medicines on time. Similarly, the word take can be used with some other situations. For example, this is the take for the new shooting. Take one, like you must have heard this word when the shooting are going for the films and movies. So that means take one is the scene one. So this is really an interesting example for you. Let me come to some other examples. Many times you must have seen that non-native speakers often have certain expressions which we just try to imitate. For example, suppose they want to go for a walk. Let's walk, or let's go for walking. So now what we should say, let's walk or let's go for walking. Now we always tend to put in the right tense and then try to put it into our expression. But let me tell you, the spoken English is always not the same as written English. So many a times we think that if I say that let's go for a walk or let's walk, will not be correct. So we always want to put the tense that let's go for walking. And that is where the problem comes. So we need to understand that while we express ourselves, we need to understand the pattern which is normally used in conversation. And once you get more familiar to such patterns, expressing yourself will become a lot more easier, my friends. That's all for today. Thank you.